Now, it's time to glue it together. So what you're going to need is a roll of paper, which I have laying around in the shop. I just don't want to get any glue on my table, and the glue table itself is wobbly. It's not very flat. So I'm just going to take, I don't know, about a square of it and just tear it right off the end. And now I can glue everything on this paper and then just throw the paper away when I'm done. So go ahead and tap your box apart and we'll glue it together. I zoom the camera in a little so you can see everything I'm doing a little bit better. We're just going to set this back up the way we had it. There's my X, so that's got to go down. And then the other one, of course, will go up, so there's my other X. Now here is how I tend to glue it. I take my two sides and I put them together so that the wide part of the cut are together. I'm going to put a dab of glue here in each one and use my finger to kind of rub that around, and then do the same on the other side. And that's usually plenty of glue in these joints. The joints are so tight, it doesn't need a ton of glue. So your worst enemy on this part is getting too much glue and then it drips down the side and it's a real mess to clean up later. So I'm going to put some glue in each one. I'm trying not to drip it on the end if I can help it. There we go. And just use your finger and move it around on the sides if you can. And you may notice that as you're going, your finger has glue on it already, so if it does try to drip, see if you can get some of that glue off of there and share it with the previous joint, a little bit on the first part. There we go. Flip it over and do the same thing. And just spread that around in that joint. Okay, and then we're going to reassemble your box like we did before. Again, I have a finger full of glue. Be very careful, don't start touching things with it. If you need to get rid of it, get a rag, or I just wipe it under the table quick. X is out. So at this point, this is where time comes into play and you need to go fairly quick. That slips in. X is out towards me. That one slips in as well. And then X is up on this one. And there we go, and just tap it together. Good. Now, while this will stay together, it's not good enough. We need to clamp it. So it's best to have the set of clamps right next to you when you're doing this. We're going to put quite a few clamps on this. So when you put these on, make sure that the clamp end is not on top of the joint. You want it just inside the joint, so that you're pressing that board into the joint. So it doesn't need to be 1,000 pounds, but it needs to be tight. Okay, we'll just tighten that on. Flip it over, do it again. Nice and tight. And there's that. Now we're going to put on a couple of more going this way. The joint has two directions to it. We need to tighten them both. So again, don't have the clamp on the joint itself, on the dovetail. Have it just inside the dovetail. Also, I'm not clamping in the middle. I don't want to bend these. I want the joint tight, but I don't need the box to bend. Okay, there's that. Then we'll clamp here. Nice and tight, and one more. Now, as you can see, it is a mess of clamps. But that is a tight joint. When that dries, it's never going to fall apart. The only other thing that I would do before I consider this done, get a tri-square. Get one of these squares, stick it inside to see if it is square. Now is the time to change it. Once that glue dries, it's not going anywhere. Just putting it inside, sticking it in there. Mine's a little off, but I can handle a little. If it's a lot off, then what we have to do is we're going to need to clamp it crossways. Let me turn this so the camera can see a little better. Clamp it this way. So let me take another look. what direction. That was a little off. Okay, so what the square is telling me, I have a gap in this corner. It means that this corner needs to come in a little, and that's fairly easy to fix. You take another clamp. If this is too short, that's fine. Grab a longer one on the other side of the rack. That's why I have a lot of clamps in the shop. And we'll just stick it right here. And you simply tighten that until it's getting awfully tight in here, until I can put a clamp in and it's nice and square. There's no gap. It needs just a little more, just like that. Perfect. That's it. And now it is tight. That's all I need. I know it's square. Everything is tight. It really needs a simple half an hour or so, and it'll never come apart.